What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How is everybody doing? We are back fresh off a hiatus. Uh, Hopefully, everybody had an awesome Thanksgiving, man. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed your time off with your family. But we are back. Got a lot to talk about, man. Once again, if you're in the chat, thank you for watching live. Retweet the link. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live, man. We're doing this thing big. Got an awesome guest in the house. Haven't been here in a little while, but love having them here, man. And you guys always show awesome support. So retweet the link, like the channel, subscribe if you have not already, man. But we're going to go ahead and get this thing kicked off with our guest, man, Mr. Luke Lore, Mr. XEP, host himself, man. Appreciate you hanging out with us once again, man. It's been a little bit of time since you've been here, but lots of stuff going on over there at XEP. You're growing really fast, so congratulations on that as well. All the success and much more in the future, brother. But let everybody know what's been going on with you.
Oh, man, thank you for the intro. It's so good to see you guys again. It had been a little while, but I am so appreciative to be back on hanging out with you guys. Man, XCP is going great. I'm enjoying it. I crossed the 100 episode mark about a month or two
congratulations.
Ago. Thank you. That was pretty cool. I've been interviewing some great guests. I talked to the Grim Dawn developers yesterday. That'll be on the next show. I've had some cool content creators on. Jez Gordon's scheduled to chat with me tomorrow as well. So it's been good, man. I've been enjoying the time. Awesome.
Well, we got a lot to talk about. We ain't gonna waste too much time here, but once again, Luke, big friend of the show. One of my faves. This is a show that I watch on a regular basis. So if you guys don't know already, please, all of his information is down in the description below. Please go him some love. Go show him some love and support as well, man. But once again, let's go ahead and get to my compadres here, man. We'll start with you, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, or should I say Mr. Forza himself. How you doing, Fuzz?
Doing pretty good, man. Just still enjoying Forza and trying to get as high a level as I can before the 8th next week. So trying to cash in all these accolades while I can. But man, it's been great. A lot of news going on. And I'm not going to take up too much time, but man, I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be awesome.
Awesome. So we'll go ahead and dive in here. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Mr. Pong Soul, Mr. Pong Harvey. How you been, brother?
Doing great, sir. Just glad I could make it in time. Dad is in town, so got to go visit him from Florida. So awesome. That was nice. Got some family time in. And then look, top of that, had a great show this morning with Steel. Mm-hmm. And then Mr. Ed Annunziata follows me on Twitter without me even following him. For anybody who doesn't know who Ed Annunziata is, he's the original creator of Echo the Dolphin. How freaking cool is that? How freaking cool is that? That was pretty sweet today. So, no, I've had a great day. Glad I could make it back in time. Got some gaming in this week, not as much as I normally do, but I did get some gaming in. Chorus. Go check out Chorus.
Yes.
Anybody who's into space shooters, please do yourself a favor. This is one of the best space shooters to come out in a very long time. Go check it out. See if it's something you're interested in. There is a demo coming for that game, I think this next week here. I know it's going to be Halo 24/7, but please take 5 minutes, download the demo, and try it out. It is worth the $40 price tag. It's not even a full price game, but man, that game is just simply fantastic. So go check that out. But otherwise, we do have some big topics to get into. So let's get going here, PTK.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And last but not least, Mr. Centurion, how you been, brother? Let everybody know what's been cooking up with you.
What's up, guys? It's Saturday night. Got an amazing show planned for you. I'm ready for this. For me, though, my only gaming I've been able to squeeze in between working way too much, like everybody probably else does. I've been able to play some Guardians of the Galaxy. Having a lot of fun playing that, enjoying the story. I haven't been able to play anything else just because I keep wanting to know the story. I just want to know more about the story until at least I roll the credits on this game. So that's all the gaming I've been doing, but definitely got an amazing guest tonight. That's the word. I almost got an amazing guest tonight with Ghost. I'm excited for this. Let's do this.
Let's dive in, everybody. So once again, hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already. If you want to be part of the shop patrons, man, once again, join the family as well. That join button is always open and available if you want to support. the channel in that way. So we appreciate you guys. But let's go ahead and dive in. We got a lot to talk about. We will always start with the poll of the week. So appreciate you guys running up the poll every single week on Monday. If you're not following me, that's where I put up the poll of the week on Twitter. Then we talk about it here on the Shop Podcast. So we're starting with that today. And the poll of the week was, which of these games next year, 2022, are most likely to be on Xbox Game Pass first, and why? So I threw just kind of a mixed bag out there, kind of a few games that I did a little bit of research on. Did a little bit of research on that I thought maybe would show up on Game Pass at some point, maybe not day one, but maybe sometime down the line. So we got 4 options: Dying Light 2, Avatar, the Ubisoft Avatar, the Callisto Protocol, and Hogwarts Legacy. So Dying Light 2 actually ran away with this poll. 63% voted Dying Light 2. So once again, chat, let us know which one you would vote and why. So we'll start with you, Luke, on this one. Out of those 4 options, which one do you think is most likely to show up on Game Pass next year at some point?
Oh, it's got to be Dying Light 2. I was one of the people that also voted for Dying Light 2.
Okay.
I think Dying Light 2 is going to be great. I know codes are actually going out early for that one because the game has already gone gold and it's complete. But it makes the most sense that Dying Light 2, which had a cult following in its original launch and then has been kind of sleeping for a good while, it makes sense that would have kind of a nice splash when it releases, but it would be ripe for a Game Pass drop somewhere around the summertime to kind of reinvigorate interest in the franchise, particularly if they're doing expansions and DLC. Plus, the other argument is, I mean, Avatar and Hogwarts are both licensed titles that are going to be very big for Ubisoft and Warner Brothers, respectively. And Callisto Protocol, if I remember correctly, that's the spiritual successor to Dead Space.
Yes, the same people that did Dead Space, the original Dead Space.
Right. And so in my mind, those 3 franchises, Avatar, Callisto Protocol, and the Hogwarts title, are all set to have bigger splashes and landings than Dying Light 2. Plus, there's the idea that Dying Light 2 is out first, so it has more time to land in 2022 on the Game Pass.
Okay, well, that makes sense. I think there's a connection with Dying Light, the first one in Xbox. I believe Xbox had the marketing rights to the first Dying Light. Am I correct on that one, Luke? I'm pretty sure.
That sounds right. I equate Dying Light to be an Xbox game in my mind, and I think it's for that exact reason.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when I made the poll, when I put Dying Light, I figured that would be the best choice. I figured most people would pick that choice, but some of the other ones are interesting. I mean, it's not too far out of the realm of possibility that maybe like a Callisto Protocol shows up at some point down the line. Now, once again, maybe not day and date, but down the line, some of these games may pop up. Ubisoft does have a connection with Xbox. We've always talked about that as well. So we'll definitely see. But I am 100% with you, Luke. Initially, I would have chose Dying Light 2, really only because the relationship is already established between Xbox and that studio. So.
Agree. I think the Callisto Protocol is the second candidate there, and the only real precedent I have in that is that Back 4 Blood launched day and date, because Microsoft was willing to spend the money, and that was really good for Back 4 Blood. That game needed that big infusion of player base as they kind of work some things out. So it's possible you see Callisto Protocol and it helps that team work on it, but who knows?
Okay, well, let's go ahead and throw this over to you then, Fuzz. Get your quick opinion, man, on out of those 4 options, man, which one did you choose and why, brother?
I picked Dying Light 2 as well, and I think it's mainly because they have the marketing rights. Now, I might be mistaken on this, but I thought PlayStation had Dying Light 1 because I remember getting some extra skins for it back when I was a PS only guy.
Why do in my head I associate that with Xbox though? In my head,
well, they have a big multiplayer aspect to it, so I think that's part of the multiplayer was definitely more active on Xbox than it was on PlayStation, where you could play as the monster and stuff like that. But I think that mode started on PlayStation because they had the marketing rights on it. But right now, with Xbox having the marketing rights for 2, and it being a game that has had a lot of info about it, and then it kind of went silent and they had the delay. I think this is the biggest way for it to make a splash, and having another multiplayer aspect to it or even co-op to it, I think it fits right with the game that would be perfect for like a Game Pass day and date launch type of deal, because it's not going to stay in there forever. People are going to get to try it. They're going to fall in love with it like they did with the first one, and they want to wind up buying it before it leaves type of deal. So I can definitely see that one making it. Callisto Protocol is another one. I agree with Luke on this, where it's like it fits that model. It would probably wind up doing rather well as far as its player base, going into Game Pass day and date. But I think that one's going to be further out than 2022. That's kind of the only reason why I did pick that one.
Yeah.
And then with Hogwarts, I still think that's a PlayStation one, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they got that little caveat in the contract to say, "Oh, no Game Pass" type of thing with their marketing deal. Because I know they try to do that nowadays with stuff, but I just see Dying Light 2 making that type of splash where, yeah, it may seem like on paper it hurts the overall sales of the game, but I think it'll probably wind up, keeping more people engaged. And considering the delay, I think they're spending a lot more of their time polishing. And with Luke saying they're probably doing some review codes and things like that early, they've probably already gotten all the things, massaged and worked out, and bugs, already tested and everything like that. So it's going to be ripe for the launch in Game Pass. It'll just add to the subscription base because people are going to want to, subscribe to get access to the game, and you're going to have a lot of people that are going to wind up like, oh, I was on the fence, try it, and then be like, yeah, I need to buy this. I need to get the DLC. I need to, play this more than just the 30 days that my initial subscription was for, and they wind up letting that subscription continue and purchasing the game as well. But those are just my 2 cents on it.
Okay, well that makes a lot of sense as well, and I do once again agree with the second option. The second most likely choice being Callisto Protocol for all the obvious reasons that you and Luke already have gone over. But I don't know why, Fuzz. I remember Dying Light because I bought it that the day it came out. I went and bought it, but I don't know why. I feel like it was associated with Xbox when it came out. I don't know why I have that stuck in my head, but it could just be me thinking that was the case that they had the marketing rights, but it could have been PlayStation this whole time. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Paul, and get your opinion on, out of those 4 options, brother, which one you think is most likely to show up in Game Pass?
Dying Light 2. I think it's the obvious choice. It is probably, with the marketing rights, we've seen a lot of that happen recently, where even if it isn't day and date in Game Pass, that those deals come to light, whether it's 3 months, 6 months down the road. So I definitely think Dying Light is going to be the one. It's going to get launched during a tough time with a lot of different competition. I mean, the month of February is ridiculous. It's going to get lost for a while with Halo and everything else going on. So, it's going to be important to keep that game in people's minds, and to introduce that into Game Pass, whether it's 3 months or 6 months down the road, would be a great thing for the developers because they do have expansion passes available. I could see them going the route of Forza Horizon 5 and offering discounts. I think more third parties are going to do that for the DLC packs, where we as Game Pass subscribers, even if we have the game, we could still buy the DLC separately with a discount, because obviously when it leaves Game Pass, that definitely provides incentive for people to actually buy the game. So I think that's probably the biggest one out of all these that I can call. The rest of them, Hogwarts, I could see it, but again, with them having, I believe the marketing rights with Sony, it's going to be written in that contract that they can't put it on Game Pass. So I definitely don't think that's going to be there. The Callisto Project, like Luke brought up, for very good reasons. If they are dishing out money, that could be the Stalker 2 of the bunch that helps that team finish that project off, because they are trying to kind of break out on their own and do the spiritual successor to Dead Space. And it would make sense that if Microsoft came along and said, hey, here's some money up front, all you got to do is just drop it in the Game Pass. I think a studio like that for sure would take it. That's a great opportunity for them. So I think that one's got potential there. But I just think overall Dying Light 2 just makes way too much sense. Just on the face. So I'm not going to try to overanalyze it and go crazy. I just think Dying Light 2 is the one. So
okay, well, once again, that makes sense. I mean, I think we're all on the same page about that. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you so we can wrap this first topic up. Centurion, where you at on this, man? Are you following the crowd? Are you going to be the rebel and pick something different, or where we at here, brother?
Well, I would love to pick something different, but I'm pretty much falling in line with everybody else. I can't knock anybody's argument. I'm wanting to add on to the argument as best I can, but definitely Dying Light 2. I mean, we're talking about a game that actually was almost, I don't even know if it was officially declared in development hell, but I know they've had a little bit of an uphill battle during its development. And if I recall, Microsoft kind of came in and gave them a good cash infusion.
Yeah, I thought I
So
heard that as well.
That was the rumor.
Yeah, I thought I heard that as well.
And that's where I really do believe that, Microsoft probably more than likely was like, hey, we want to give you this money. We also want to help fuel Game Pass. But I'm pretty sure they're also keeping that hush hush because they don't want anything to overshadow Halo. But also at the same time, we saw them kind of reshuffle the deck a little bit. We were supposed to get Dying Light 2, I think like the day before or the day after Halo. Yeah. And obviously you didn't want to stand next to the juggernaut known as Master Chief for sure. So I'm pretty sure they feel a lot more comfortable with the situation coming out in January, or was it January or February? I keep getting them
February, I believe. February.
Did they move to February? Because that's nuts if they did. They get.
Do you remember, Luke?
They moved from January to February to avoid Halo. Now they're in the
now they're in the biggest traffic jam of all time. Wow.
See, I think because of the movement that I believe Game Pass would be good for them, because I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of people who are like, oh my God, this game has been delayed and there's been development issues and blah, 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 blah. And I feel like Game Pass would be a good avenue to show people, hey, this is our product. This is what you're going to get. It's only going to be here for X amount of time. And, beat it while you can, or buy it because you love it. And I feel that's one of Game Pass's strong suits is I don't really want to, it basically shows people the product you're going to get. And I mean, if you love it, invest in it. I will definitely say, like for Outriders, it wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but I enjoyed what I played, so I bought it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And a game like Dying Light 2, now moving into that space where there's so much coming out, 2022 is stacked, and they moved right, like you said, they moved out of behind one rock and moved right behind another rock, so they didn't really get out of the way of anything. But yeah, I think because of obviously the rumors, the cash infusion rumors, as far as the marketing deal with Dying Light, I think that makes the most sense. So I think
we also see the numbers that come out that Game Pass subscribers are 40% more active on the titles that they play. So, I mean, that's actually, one heck of a crapshoot. Imagine going to the Las Vegas tables and basically being, if you play on this table, you got a 40% chance of actually winning. Any developer would just be like, well, hey, that's a pretty good chance for us to actually get our product into somebody's hands and for them to experience it.
Oh, absolutely. And it's only going to get better as Game Pass grows and gets bigger. And this is a perfect segue to our next topic. So something happened on Friday, right? If you guys weren't, underneath a rock or trapped in a tunnel or anything like that. So essentially, Bloomberg dropped an article basically saying PlayStation now is preparing or has already developed essentially their own version of Game Pass titled Spartacus. Right, so it's essentially a tiered system, similar-ish to Game Pass. That depending on the tier that you purchase, you're going to be able to have access to different things. So I just wanted to get everybody's opinion. We're obviously going to start with our guest here. This is something that we've talked about them doing, and before we get on all of our soapboxes here, I do want to say something. We'll kind of pat ourselves on the back because we talked about this and we said this. Game Pass changed the market. It changed the rules of the game. The game before was sell a whole lot of goddamn games, sell a whole lot of goddamn consoles. That's not the case anymore. Game Pass came out, and that's not the case anymore. That's not the best way to go about this business. You got to be flexible. You got to be able to do different things. And Game Pass came and changed the rules. It threw a monkey wrench in the system. So we'll start with you on this one, Luke. When you first heard about it, when you first read the article, what was your first initial thought about this?
About time.
Okay.
Good on them. I'm glad this is happening. Game Pass has been the absolute best value in gaming since it launched, and it's only gotten better in recent months. This last year for Game Pass has been insane. And the reality is the price of Game Pass is likely to go up. the reality is, as Game Pass gets more popular, you're going to see less day and dates of things like Back 4 Blood and non-Microsoft specific titles, because their cadence in their first party studios is going to be up tremendously as kind of all of these teams from these 23 studios start cycling titles. And so with that price going up and with my anticipation of the price going up, the only way to keep that down and to keep them, really pushing for engagement is to have competition. Game Pass was born out of losing the last generation.
Yeah.
Xbox losing is the reason we have Games with Gold. Games with Gold was not a thing at the beginning of Xbox One. It had to be because PlayStation was eating its lunch. Now that PlayStation is going to bring their own version of a contender with arguably a more successful first-party library with legacy to it, that's going to put tremendous amounts of pressure on Xbox to continue with the value that they've had over the last few months. There's a lot of things you can pick at with this idea. There's some very Nintendo-esque qualities to what we've seen on paper for Sony.
That was eloquent. I like how you kind of, that was political. You swerved around that one.
I did. I dodged that one. I'm gonna let Pong handle that part. But real talk, I think it's great because I want a competitor in this space. The best Xbox has ever been is now, and it's because of the competition and getting humbled in the last generation. And that is what I look forward to happening, not necessarily in the same way, but that competition only makes for better games for all of us. So I'm excited for it.
Awesome. So just to kind of piggyback off that, I'm not going to move on just yet. I'm going to come right back to you, Luke. So I know we didn't really get into the logistics of this thing, right? That's important too, right? I mean, obviously it's important that they're doing this because they have to. I mean, let's be honest. Game Pass isn't going anywhere, and they had to do something at some point. You can't just let Game Pass get to 60 million subscribers and you don't have a similar option, right? That's just not possible. So if we're talking about the logistics, if we get into that a little bit, just like, what do you think are some of the things Sony are going to, I would essentially say, what do you think some of the things they're going to face as far as their uphill battle? Because they don't have the same resources that Xbox has, and they're a little bit behind, and it's not quite the same setup. So what would you suggest that they lean on, like what they focus on to grow? Because they don't really have the money to throw at this like Xbox does, and they don't necessarily have the infrastructure. So they're going to have to get creative. So what would you recommend that they do to kind of, get the thing rolling off at the beginning?
Well, they've not invested much into backward compatibility and not invested a lot into their infrastructure as far as marketing and pricing tiers go. However, they do have an incredible back library from PlayStation 1 that Xbox cannot compete with. They simply weren't around then. More to the point, they also have a lot of these PSP and Vita titles that were made playable with a controller via PlayStation Television or PS TV here in the States, and then Vita TV over in Japan. So there are there's groundwork there for them to make some of those titles available on console. I'm sure it would take work and effort, but they have the potential to dive into a library that is just well beyond Microsoft's in terms of quantity. They will probably face internal conversations and internal battles with what to do with their big first-party exclusives day and date. They had an opportunity to do something like that with PlayStation Now for Miles Morales, for Ratchet and Clank, and they did not do that. With Returnal would have been a perfect example for this, but we have seen them drop games day and date into PlayStation Plus, so they're not averse to certain types of titles that they don't think is going to do well. But if they develop this program, let's say it's up and running by holiday next year, a year from now, does God of War Ragnarok launch into that program? Because that would drive subscriptions tenfold. Sure. That is their big subscription driver. The difference is with a lot of Game Pass's most successful titles, Sea of Thieves, Halo Infinite Beta, Forza, there's a multiplayer component and a healthy multiplayer component. A lot of PlayStation first parties do not have that.
Good point.
It'll I would say that's probably their biggest uphill battle. But keep in mind that as PlayStation puts out these banger first party titles that are single player, Microsoft's chasing that as well in their own right. So grass is always greener. There's always something to chase. But for the subscription model, you need live service games and you need multiplayer games to buffer those single player experiences.
Good point. And that's something that they don't have. So they are facing an uphill battle. And it's kind of interesting because, and the funny thing about this, Luke, is that people didn't see this coming. I mean, Jim tried to tell everybody. He came out and said, look, this is that we sell 20 million games, but that ain't enough. I mean, he said it like, look, this is not, that's great. I love Spider-Man Miles Morales. I love God of War. I love the fact that it sells 15 and 20 million games every time it comes out, but that's not going to be enough in this current market. And so this is something that the writing was on the wall, in my opinion.
Very, very much so. And again, grass is always greener. The people who are adherent to their own preferred ecosystems, preferred boxes will find reasons to justify what they have. But the reality is we're not going to be playing on consoles in 10 years. You're going to log in wherever you log in, right? xCloud is doing that very well. Stadia did it poorly. The idea that you just log in and play on your account, play games on your account is something that Luna is exploring, and it's the direction that gaming is going in. And it scares me because like that's alien to me in a lot of ways, but like also, why fear change? Why fear that? It's a reminder that whenever I see warriors out there advocating for their system, it's like, I'm going to play where good games are. Like, I don't ever want to not play Spider-Man because it's on a different system. I want to play Spider-Man because I want to play Spider-Man. I cover Xbox. I genuinely love those first party titles a bit more. They're more for me, but I don't ever want to turn my nose up to games that I love. God of War Ragnarok is among my most anticipated, right? Like,
absolutely.
So much to look forward to there.
Absolutely. I agree 110%. So we're gonna change lanes here just a little bit, but appreciate you, Luke, man. So eloquently broke that down. Once again, chat, let us know. Run those, hit the like button as well. Appreciate you guys supporting the chat. And let us know how you feel about this PlayStation Spartacus and just the offerings and some of the things you guys have heard about it. So we're gonna go ahead and actually throw this over to you, Centurion. Get your opinion on and I don't worry, I got the soapbox out for you. You didn't have to pull it out this time. We already got it prepared, but yeah, what do you think when you first heard it initially? What was your initial thought?
I was kind of right there with Ghost going about time, and then I started reading what they were gonna do, and the whole that little noise kind of went off because I'm not like this has nothing to do with me being preference to Xbox.
Sure? You sure?
All right, so
I'm just playing. I didn't mean to
put it this way. I have actually got into heated debates, as I'll say it, with the person that I work for because I'm responsible for giving the customers that come to his showroom value for the money that they put out. I have actually gotten into, like I said, heated debates about the price of things to create competition and value. And when I see what PlayStation is offering, I've made the joke that it feels like it's a backwards compatibility paywall with a fresh coat of paint. Paul Tassi even tackled this with Forbes, saying this is more just of a rebranding. It just feels like I want them to be competitive with Game Pass, but right now with the way this service is set up, it's not going to be competitive. You aren't going to be getting titles day and date. They have not announced that yet. I hope they do. That would make it competitive. I just really am curious because for somebody like me who kind of missed some of the first generation of PlayStation games on the PS1, I would be interested in their backwards compatibility library to play some of these first titles. But at the same time, I have been spoiled by Xbox and given value for what they do. And why can't I go out and find a copy of Jak and Dexter and put it in my console and play it? I can't do that. I instead have to go and buy the digital version that they created. And that's where there's fundamental differences in the value that they want to give their customers. And that's where I'm on the fence on, is this going to be a service for me? And it has nothing to do with having Xbox as a preference. It's more, where do I feel I'm going to get more bang for my buck? And that's where Game Pass comes in. I'm going to get titles day and date. They do multiplayer better. That even Ghost touched on that. I feel that the environment in Game Pass is definitely more active. It just feels like what PlayStation is going to do is like it's just going to revolve around PlayStation and what PlayStation does, where Xbox is constantly right now, at least bringing developers in, showing off new titles almost every single week. I mean, every single week, I feel like there's something new in the Game Pass service. I don't want to see this whole Spartacus thing or whatever it's called over on PlayStation to be some stagnant thing that basically ever sees any movement in the content that it wants to offer you. I've been constantly saying that, yes, you do have to have titles in there day and date, regardless of how you feel and how glorious you feel that like, I'm going to be upfront. Just because it has a PlayStation logo on it does not mean anything to me. It doesn't. It does not mean nothing to me. Just because it has that logo doesn't mean that it's God's gift to gaming or the best thing since sliced bread. Your competition is offering their AAA studio content like Starfield and Halo Infinite and other titles on that caliber day and date in their service. You can go ahead and try to hold your little soapbox of, oh, well, we don't need to do that. We're PlayStation. I'm sorry, but the whole idea of it, like, greatness awaits, but it's starting to turn into greatness costs more. So I'm still on my little soapbox or fence, just waiting to see what they're going to offer me and give me bang for my buck as a consumer, because I just feel that there's more value on the subscription side over on Xbox. But I'm not trying to bash it either, but there is some things that Sony can do that would be completely out of the box that I feel that they're not touching on. And I've mentioned this before. It would be nice to see for them to also not only have some games in their day and date, but also to take some of the movies and the entertainment that they offer from Sony Pictures and Crunchyroll and start we're going to have some tiers in there. What if there was an entertainment tier where you can go beyond gaming? I've said it before, Microsoft cannot offer anything when it comes to an entertainment-based subscription service because they have been focused on games, where Sony has dedicated some of their time, money, portfolio to actual investing in movie production. Ghostbusters Afterlife, an amazing movie. I actually enjoyed it. But also, how many people would probably subscribe to PlayStation, whatever it's going to be called, if there was a monthly thing where, hey, if you, for this month of PlayStation Spartacus, you'll be able to watch this movie that's also in theaters, kind of like HBO Max. I feel that they have the ability to offer something totally different than Game Pass that would make them also competitive.
No, that's a great idea, and Fuzz has talked about that too. We're gonna get into Fuzz. We're gonna throw the ball to you here in a second, but that's an awesome idea, and it's a cool way to compete in that space as well. I don't know if you even thought about that, Luke. Possibly, maybe you've had that idea as well. But that is an angle. That is something that Sony can definitely offer that Xbox cannot, because they just have the portfolio to do so. So it's super interesting. Just before we get to you, Fuzz, where would you be at on that idea? Maybe throwing in some of the Sony's other services in there, Luke.
I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, Game Pass does perks where Spotify and YouTube Premium are a thing. If Sony has stuff in house, I think it would make good sense for them to take advantage of that. The big thing with them is, like, how much pressure are they going to capitulate to? How much are they going to come under fire for these things? Is it going to be a Nintendo style audience where they're forgiven for their being charged over?
And if Xbox always has its feet to the fire, that's one thing that fuels Game Pass, is it's always this like pressure. Like, even when nothing's happening, there's always seemingly this pressure for Game Pass to like grow and do better and one up itself. I don't know if that same pressure is going to be asked to Sony.
Exactly. And I don't think it is. However, understandably, like, calling PlayStation Spartacus out for the value as it stands at the moment makes good sense. And if they get a delivery service with you with worthwhile tiers in there, but the pricing's off, they can adjust that. If they get the service down, the pricing can be adjusted in the same way that, Xbox has been able to say, well, just Game Pass for $1. We've been able to say that for like 3 years at this point.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
But the reality is we're all going to double and triple up our money when it's on sale, stack it and move on. And that tends to be what most people do. Very few people are actually paying $10 a month for Game Pass. I'm sure there would be ways and efforts made in similar fashion over there with with Spartacus. But it's a worthwhile thing to note. But market dictates via money, right? And so if people don't flock to it or spend the money on it, they'll adjust it. They would not put in all that time to bail on it. They don't have the Google money that try Stadia and then that didn't work. Let's just stop. They just don't have that. So they would likely go all in on it.
And I thought, my first thought was, I hope this is not a build it and they'll come type thing, right, Luke? Like,
right.
Oh, we're just gonna do this thing and announce it, and they'll just show up. Like all these, we got super loyal fans that are just gonna show up, and we're gonna get 20 million subscribers in like 3 months. Like, I just hope that that's not their mindset behind this. I really do hope that there's some thought. Now, obviously, we don't have all the details, Luke. We still don't have any pricing. You know, we don't really have everything, so it's a little bit shaky right now. But we have a model already that we know works. You know, so it's. You got to compare it to what we have already in the market. But let's go ahead and actually throw this over to you, Fuzz. And once again, chat, let us know what you guys think about this Spartacus, man. This is crazy, man. It's crazy that we're talking about this right now, like realistically. So go ahead, Fuzz. Once again, Fuzz, this is another thing that we've been talking about for like a year and a half, 2 years, and coming to fruition. It's crazy, bro. But go ahead.
It's about damn time. To echo what Ghost was saying, it finally they kind of should have done this when they first announced PS Now. In fact, I thought they had kind of said that PS Now would eventually be like a upgradable thing to PS Plus, but they always kind of kept it separate. Yeah, it's about time they kind of merged those two into one. Now, I'm kind of glad I didn't load up a bunch of years unless there's like some sort of upgrade path with how cheap you can get like the PS Plus cards or the PS Now cards. I mean, they're $60 retail each for the year, but you can usually find them for almost half that, or at least 45 or so for each of those especially during the holidays. But it's competition's great for the end user or for the consumer, and with us, Game Pass has been that I wouldn't say that saving grace, but it's been that nice bonus in the beating that Xbox kind of took last gen in the sense that it made them think differently and act differently. So they came up with this awesome value plan that made it so you can try games, play games without having to empty out your entire wallet to try all those games. It made it so it's almost like it's like a buffet kind of thing, but you find a lot of games that you like and you wind up picking them up and buying them because it may have been a game you were on the fence on before anyway, or would have never even tried, like me with Psychonauts 2. To be honest, I had no interest into it prior, but it was one of those I played, enjoyed it, beat the game, bought the game. Yeah, I understand it's going to be in there forever, but who's to say I'm going to have my subscription forever? So, but them doing this Spartacus thing is a good move. Will they go that extra mile and throw in like a PlayStation PC? Because remember, they have that new PlayStation PC division or whatever.
Yes, that's true.
Hopefully that's merged into that tier 3. Yes, it kind of sucks to have like their back compat kind of behind this paywall, but at least there's some back compat. Hopefully it's downloadable and not just
I was
streaming.
gonna say that's another thing to it. We haven't talked about, streaming possibly, because they got Gaikai. They've always had Gaikai, and that's what PS Now runs.
Does this mean they're switching over to Azure?
Hopefully. I mean maybe this is the fruition of that deal, the fruits of that labor coming to fruition type of thing. So it would be awesome if this is what they're going to use Azure for. But if the games are going to be downloadable as far as the PS1 through PS3 back compat,
PS3 too. Remember, that's another one. Those games on PS3 are so difficult to like emulate just because of the hardware
processor. It's the next generation. Yeah. Anyway, I gave my PS3 to my son so he could play NCAA 14. I think it was since that was the last football one, and can't find it for Xbox anywhere. So it's like, okay. Here's my PS3, and found it at GameStop a couple of Christmases ago. But the idea as far as like the mixed media thing, it just kind of makes sense. And I know there was some rumblings prior to Netflix doing like its own thing, or them announcing that they're doing their own thing. There were kind of rumors that Sony was working or working out deals with like either Amazon or Netflix or somebody in the background, since they kind of close up their, TV and movie stuff on the PlayStation itself, not uh, streaming in general, but their own, was that TV view thing that they
Yeah, the
had.
PS View or whatever that was.
So, and I think they pulled buying movies away from their store as well. So it's like, I could see them kind of bringing that back as an added feature. I mean, yeah, they don't have the bankroll of Microsoft, but they do have a lot of cachet in the sense of movies and other entertainment industries, as far as whether it's movies or music. So they have ways that it may not be like for like as far as a Game Pass thing, but it'll be something that people will consider, hey, this is a more inclusive subscription that I can spend, $10 to $15 a month on, or whatever their price point winds up being, and I get X, Y, and Z on top of my gaming stuff. So it's a move in the right direction, I think. Finally, curious to see what all the line items and features are going to wind up being,
Yeah.
and how that's going to play out, especially for those that were like, I just bought 5 years of PS Plus and PS Now what? So, but it's competition's a great thing. I'm looking forward to this. Really looking forward to see what their price point is going to be. If it's going to be less than the 120 that you can get now retail wise for the two, or if it keeps it at 120 and adds their Crunchyroll recent negotiation or recent acquisition thing and all that stuff in there as well. So, and I think they're actually doing that in like a beta test over in the UK or something now, where it's like an added feature to PS Plus or something. So,
Oh, that would be neat.
yeah, so they have some things that may not be apples to apples as far as competing with Game Pass, but they do have some nice things that they could do. And plus, the whole day and date, I have my own little prediction on that whole deal, but they could just do like a couple hour trial. I mean, I hmm, I know that they're real hesitant to do day and date on their blockbusters because they rather make the cash on selling it as opposed to the subscription service, because I don't think they envision those numbers being enough to cover the difference. But I could totally see them trying possibly a day and date on like Ben Studios new IP,
Yeah.
considering.
Or I thought I had, sorry to cut you off. I thought I had was
No,
they
go
have
ahead.
some multiplayer stuff in the works, and
Yeah,
those games can go day and date rather than the single player, AAA single player God of War type stuff.
I mean, we've been hearing them working on factions for how long, and no real updates other than we're working on it. So maybe that's one of those multiplayer things that's launched in the service. Because I'm kind of surprised that there was no announcement on the anniversary that, oh yeah, it's coming to PC and here's how much it's going to cost, type of thing. But if they roll it into that service, like it's exclusively through the service, you have to subscribe to have access to it. I mean, yeah, it's going to rub a few of the PlayStation fan base the wrong way, but I could see a ton of them signing up for it just for that. I mean, possibly me included, just for access to factions. So they have a lot of options that they can take this in, and it's just great that they finally are taking this option, especially when everybody was like, "Oh, Game Pass is unsustainable. PlayStation never needs to do this," and it's like subscriptions are bad for devs. How about that narrative? So I've spoken enough. Let
That's all good.
Pong drop some signs on the rest of us, because I know he's got a lot to say on this as well.
I saved Pong for last on purpose. He got the I heard the bullets in the chamber over there loaded up, click clack. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. But no, let me get to Luke really quick here. So Luke, I want to ask you a quick question. And Fuzz, you brought this up, and I kind of want to put this out there as far as the day and date stuff. So to me, that's going to be the biggest hurdle for them. That's going to be the biggest internal, okay? Because that's something that Sony is like, that's a pride thing to me, Luke. Like they really pride themselves on selling those first party AAA games, like having that 15, 20 million selling. So do you think that's something that they're just going to be able to, let's go ahead and just throw something in here and try it out? You think they're going to maybe trial a game in there, or you think that's something that they're just not going to change, but they're going to be a little bit too stubborn and always keep those AAAs outside of the service?
I don't think they're too stubborn. I think we saw during the
Okay.
pandemic when they did the Play at Home initiative, they were testing the water to see how many people will engage in free games and spend money in free games. And then they were also likely very much watching Forza Horizon 5's launch, Microsoft Flight Simulator's launch, Psychonauts 2's engagement numbers. They have access to that because the game does publish over on their side as well. And then, of course, they're going to watch Halo Infinite, which has a free-to-play component as well as a Game Pass component. They're watching all of these ecosystems and figuring out how to best utilize their own properties within it. Rest assured, conversations are going to happen with Insomniac about Spider-Man and Wolverine and just what to do as far as release for those games based on all the data that's pouring through about Game Pass from their third-party partners and just the general feedback as they watch Xbox kind of return to market forefront. And I don't mean winning in console wars or anything like that, but there's a vibe around Xbox that is very positive that was not there during this last generation. And I think that they're acutely aware of that. The question is, which Sony are we going to get? Are we going to get the Sony that came in super arrogant PS3 style, which I feel like they've been a couple times of late over the last 2 years? I've seen shades of that. Or are we going to get the Sony that was like, we love indies and we're ready to rock and we're going to put out the best games? Because I've seen shades of that too. I've seen both versions of that Sony in the last, year or two. But, rest assured they're watching all of it and it will come down to data. They're not going to do it on a pride thing if they're being held accountable on a financial sense. But your point is well taken, Blam. Like they have been staunchly against subscription day and date stuff.
That's big for them. It really is a pride. It's something that they've always seemed to be able to hold over Xbox. Like they can always make that statement about their first party titles. They've always been able to. So, you throw games in that may affect the overall sales. Those numbers may not be what they were. Now I think Xbox greasing the wheels, it may not matter as much. So say for instance, God of War Ragnarok comes out, drops day and date in the Spartacus service. Instead of it selling, 15 million, maybe it does, 10, 9. That's still a W. And then it turns around and says we have, 5 million people playing it in Spartacus. That's still a fantastic game. That's still a well, the engagement matters, but are they going to be able to adjust to that though? You know what I'm saying?
They make more money if 1 million people subscribe to Spartacus because of God of War than they would have sold with probably 2 and 3 million more sales because they get people in and keep them in the service, keep them in the ecosystem. Exactly. Yeah. And how many Xbox gamers or people out there bought an Xbox Series S for Black Friday or whatnot and are now going to be spending money in an Xbox ecosystem where they never would have before? They're going to say, you know what, let me play this DLC on this title here. The game's here. I've already got it. But maybe I'm buying that Outriders expansion pass or whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. That's going to happen. That's the value of ecosystems, and that's what's going to drive engagement. I mean, Forza Horizon boasted what, 15 million?
Yeah, it was insane. It's crazy.
Maybe it's not announced at 15, but it's around 15. They boast that, and then how many of them bought the game? I don't know, but how many people paid for early access? How many people are going to be buying cars or putting money into those expansion packs when they come out or to upgrade the version that they have access to? Quite a few more than would have even played the game had that initial paywall been there. And so there's a lot more to it than just, do I subscribe for this one thing,
Yeah, no, I get it. I 100% sure. There's a lot more lure there than just the one thing. So we'll go ahead and get this over to Pong before we switch lanes and move on to the next topic. Pong, once again, initial reactions when you first heard about this, brother.
Yeah, this is a stepping stone. This is a starting spot for Sony, right? This is what we expected. Like you said, Blam, we've talked about this so much, and we actually did bring up the options that they have to offer, services or content that Microsoft can't with their movie studios and with their music and that kind of stuff as well. I think that comes in down the road. Look, Jim Ryan is here because of the bottom line. Jim Ryan is in charge for the bottom line. Okay, he's not a dummy. No matter what you think about his personality, whether you think he should be the face of Sony, we've discussed that here as well, face of PlayStation, I should say. We can have those discussions, but the bottom line is that's his forte, is the bottom line, right? So he's going to do what's best, and this is going to be a slow transition, which we've had many discussions here as well for Sony. They don't have the resources, they don't have the infrastructure to do a 180 like Xbox has over the past 4 years, right? That's just not possible for them. This is going to be a slow turning ship. And they're going to take these baby steps towards what they see as the future. And everybody with any type of foresight, anybody that can take a step back outside of their gaming bubbles and look at the environment and the world that we're living in, knows that the future is through streaming. It is through these types of subscription services. Now, they are going to obviously evolve and adapt and adjust as we get through the years. But right now, you can see that's what everybody's moving to. Again, Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy Netflix. Netflix offered to sell to them. Blockbuster said, no way, nobody's ever going to stream movies. Nobody's ever going to buy into that type of model. Nah, we're going to keep our brick and mortar stores. We're going to continue to rent out to people. That's how it's going to go. Well, guess what? Blockbuster is no longer here. And there's a reason, because more and more people bought into that actual style of content consumption, which is streaming. And as technology continues to get better and we see it progress year after year, just look how much better xCloud has gotten over the past 6 months with the server blade upgrades, right?
It's gotten good.
It's going to be quicker and quicker. That movement towards an all digital type, and I know people don't like to hear it. Yes, physical media will still be around in some form. We still have CDs. You can still go buy DVDs, Blu-rays. You can go buy LPs. LPs are back in, right? So physical media is still going to be here. But what I'm saying is, for the vast majority of consumption, we're going to move closer and closer towards all digital. So Sony knows this, right? PlayStation knows this. Jim, his crew over there, they all get it. It's just that they can't do this exact, flip our whole script on what we've been doing and move to that kind of system. They can't. It's just not possible. This is big bank versus little bank. And I know we're talking about $1 billion company in Sony, but when you're talking about a parent company of Xbox that's 2.5 trillion market cap, that's a whole different league. That's all there is to it. Not counting all the tech that they already have within Microsoft with the servers and stuff and with Azure. So this is the first step. People who believe that this is just where it's going to be, again, all of you same clowns said that they were never going to put their titles on PC. Okay, listen, again, I'm going to tell you each and every week, take off the makeup. It's time, okay? If you want to give the people who follow you, if you want to give your audiences, your Twitter followers, whoever it is that you're trying to impress, if you want to give them real knowledge and you want to give them insight into what's happening, you're going to have to take the makeup off. Okay, this is not where it's going to stay. This is not how it's going to be, 2 years from now. This is not the final form of what PlayStation has planned. They are going to start adding content as the subscription service grows. Right now, they've been looking at the numbers, right? PS Plus is doing great. Of course, you need it, online gaming, all that kind of stuff. Whatever the case may be, people subscribe to PS Plus. However, PS Now has actually been losing customers at points. PS Now has been stagnant for quite some time.
Yeah. Have they hit double digits yet?
They're like, I think they're last, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's like 3 million, something like that.
And
it's been out for longer than Game Pass.
Yeah.
So look, they're going to look at those numbers and say, okay, what are we going to do? Because we have to get a subscription base. Let me tell you something. For everybody who thinks that paying $70 for a one-hit game is better for PlayStation and better for the devs than a continuous stream of subscription money, you don't know anything about business and how this goes. Okay. Listen, go read some books. There's plenty of information out there. Reoccurring subscription money is where it's at. Why do you think Microsoft moved their entire Office package to a subscription-based service, right? It's continuous money that you can count on every single month.
Set it and forget it.
That's right. You don't bring out a game like The Last of Us, right? That took 6 years to make. You sell a bunch of copies. Fantastic. You've sold a ton of copies. Awesome. Made a boatload of money. And then that thing is not doing anything for you until they make another one, besides obviously continuous sales, but that's here and there. It starts to dip and it starts to dry up. Not doing anything for you until they bring out another one 5 to 6 years from now, right? That IP is not doing anything for you. However, if you have that IP along with a bunch of your other IP in a subscription service that people keep going back to and looking at and saying, yep, I'm just going to buy 3 years worth of subscription because I know I'm all in, that is worth way more to you. And that's what they're trying to do. So they see these PS Now numbers being stagnant. So what do? You package the deal. That's going to convert a lot of your main base people that already have PS Plus. It's going to convince them to finally take a step into PS Now. Again, we don't know what this is exactly going to look like. What we've got here is a leak, and I'm not doubting Jason Schreier's information. He's really good at what he does when he digs in, but we do not have an official announcement from Sony. We don't know pricing. We don't know if other content is going to be included in this. We know none of that. So we're just kind of going based upon what we see here. But when people, it's a mind game. When people see a price, and Sony is probably going to overcharge for the service, make no doubt about it. This is going to be the little brother to Game Pass because they're not going to be able to offer the day and date stuff out the gates, right? So this is, no matter what they price it at, it's going to be overpriced for what they're offering. However, from a mentality standpoint, for the people who are already invested in the PlayStation ecosystem, they're going to convert over and they're going to build their subscription service very quickly because they do have that content, and nostalgia is a hell of a drug, let me tell you. And for all the people out there that claim they don't play old games, they're lying. And even if they are not boosted, even if they're not improved like Xbox has done, for the PlayStation person, for the person who loves PlayStation, it's not going to matter. They're not going to look over at Xbox. They haven't done it yet. They're not going to do it now. They're not going to look over and say, hey, Sony, why aren't you doing this? They're not. They're going to buy into that ecosystem again. They're going to play their old games the way that they always were, and they're going to enjoy it. And that's all that matters at the end of the day. They're going to get that subscription service to a nice number very quickly as everybody converts over. And that's easy money for Sony. And Jim loves easy money, right? Everybody loves easy money. But then what you start doing is you start expanding it as that number grows, right? Then you start adding more content. They, of course, know that the key to subscription service is continuous new content being dropped in there. And they don't have to do day and date to start. They could start dropping a PS5 game like, Demon Souls here and there, right? Ratchet and Clank by that point. They can drop those in one a month at the PS5, continue to add some PS4 games, maybe continuously add some more streaming options for their older stuff if it is still going to be streaming, but they can show that they're going to do that. Plus, now you get to advertise it as one package, right? Paul Tassi was correct. This initial step is more of a rebrand than anything else. I give him credit for calling it what it is. However, that rebranding is going to, it's going to cause an interest for the people who already like Sony, and for the people that are just going to be buying a PS5. What you do at that point is you entice them to just like Game Pass does on Xbox, you entice those people to say, hey, I just bought my shiny brand new PS5. What am I going to do? Well, PS Plus offers me free games each month I need for my online play. And oh, by the way, they're dropping in a PS5 game here and there. They're giving me some PS4 games. They add every, a month, a month here, a month there, whatever the case may be. Plus, I got their whole back catalog. Man, I really want to go back and try out Twisted Metal. I know it's probably going to suck, but you know what? I still want to try it. I want to play it. They're just going to buy into that new service, and it's all right there in one package form. Yeah. Yes, you do have to select a tier, but mindset wise, it's a lot easier to sell that than it is, hey, we got PS Plus for over here. We got PS Now over here. How are you going to buy these? Some people are just going to look at PS Plus and be like, that's all I need. Yeah, I really want to play Twisted Metal, but I don't want to fork over the extra $5 a month. Screw that. If you just have them in one package, it's much easier for people just to say, give it to me. Give it to me right now.
Easier so that's to digest.
Huh?
It's just easier to digest.
Yeah, it's easier to digest for people. That's all it is. So that number is going to grow quickly. And again, it's not going to be a direct competitor to Game Pass anytime soon. Okay, it's not, unless they've figured something out that we don't know of yet for their model that's going to work. I see them cutting third-party deals, just like Xbox is, because they're going to be able to go to third parties and say, hey, we got we got 20 million people already subscribed here. We're growing fast. Come on in, drop your game in here. We'll pay a little bit upfront money. Sony has zero issue with doing third-party deals, as we know. So that will become a thing where they try to battle Game Pass that way. And then eventually down the road, just like on PC, just like all these other initiatives they are taking to catch up to the times, they will slowly get to the point where some of their newer games start showing up in there sooner rather than later. And that'll be the big move. I don't expect that for, maybe 2 years down the road, somewhere in that neighborhood. I do like Fuzzy's guess that Ben's first game out the gate could be that one. Or let's say they bring back a SOCOM, right? A multiplayer game like we talked about as well. If they bring something like that out and they've got 20 million subscribers in this new package deal, why not drop it in there? Like everybody's already talked about, Luke brought up the engagement numbers that they do get to see from Game Pass. It makes sense to put a multiplayer game in there. They know that, especially if they go the monetization route where they're going to try to get in that bandwagon. They know the drill. The plans have been laid. Microsoft has been making this path for them for a while now. So they've already seen the trial and error. So they know what works and what doesn't work in a lot of ways. They're going to be able to do that. And I think that this is just the first step. Again, it's not the main competitor. It's going to be the baby brother to Game Pass for a long time because they simply cannot offer. However, they do have the ability to be flexible and offer a diversity of content if they choose to do so in other areas of entertainment that Xbox currently does not have. And I think that's why we've talked about, I believe Xbox is going to move into that space sooner rather than later as well to be able to offer more content. But I think right now Sony could do that, kind of separate themselves a little bit. Like we always talked about, it's going to be different. It's never going to be a one for one until Amazon buys Sony or something, right? Then we can start talking about whether or not it's going to be one for one, because then you have the resources, you have the infrastructure. But right now it's never going to be a one for one, but they can do things to stand out. And for the Sony fans out there, it's going to be good for them. We already seen the narrative change. We knew all along the narrative would change as soon as it happened. Look, that's the way it rolls. They've got a great, solid fan base, much like Nintendo, and those people will buy into it no matter what the price is and tell themselves they're getting a great deal because they love Sony so much. And it will work. It won't work forever, but they will get a large chunk of people to do it. But then that's going to be enough for them to start looking at increasing the offerings. And once you start doing that, they'll start appealing to people who are just getting a PlayStation 5 or something like that to jump on board. It's going to happen. This is a great move. This is what competition brings. I put out a tweet immediately saying, hooray for competition. This is better for all gamers. It's the golden age of gaming. If it wasn't for Xbox doing what they did because they had to, right? Because they were forced to, because they were dying, they did something crazy. They did something completely different. They came up with a great model to work with, and it's working. Now Sony's got to follow suit because, like you said, PTK, the news is being dominated right now by Xbox. Dominated, right? Yeah. That's how it is right now. Sony's got to get back into this. They're going to, because they've been successful for too long. They still are the biggest brand recognition as far as the worldwide goes right now. They have opportunities that Xbox is just trying to get in some areas of the world. So guess what? They do have advantages, and they're going to use those advantages. Making this move now makes total sense. And I think this is just that first piece. It's not the final form. We're going to see it evolve, but they needed to do this to start stepping in that direction. We've seen it in other areas. This was the next one because this is the future. People like it or not, it's the future. It is sustainable in different forms. It's sustainable for everybody. You just got to do it right and plan it out right. And Sony's no dummies. Again, PlayStation is not filled with dummies. They didn't get to where they are by being dummies. They know what they're doing, and people just need to understand that. But we as gamers, the important ones, the only ones that truly matter at the end of the day, we get to reap the benefits of all of this. And that's the best part. So I love it.
Absolutely. So to wrap that up, man, this is something that we're all going to be keeping an eye on, chat, very, very closely as this thing evolves, as we get more information. Like Pong said, just remember, this wasn't an official Sony announcement yet. We didn't get the official announcement. I assume the official announcement is going to come with a lot more information, a lot more details about the actual service. So we're going to hold our horses and we'll wait essentially on and see what's coming down the line. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. What's up, chat? By the way, appreciate you guys dropping in here. Hit that like button if you're just coming in now. If you're watching live, thank you for the support. So let's move on. We're talking a little bit about God Howard and a little Starfield. So Starfield information has been. Oh yeah, I know this is
Amen.
This is right up your
bless
alley.
that man. Yes.
Oh my goodness. So this is right up your alley. We're gonna start with Luke on this one. So I posed the question: is Starfield going to be Bethesda's Magnum Opus? That's crazy to say, Luke, because Skyrim, right? You Skyrim, Oblivion, all these fantastic Fallout, all these insanely, awesome games that have these cult followings and that are just burned in everybody's head, just in the culture of video games. So, do you think Starfield I know we're shooting our shot here, Luke. We don't have a lot of information, but just based on the way I just every time I hear Todd talking about it, it's with so much like care and passion. Like he hasn't talked about a game like this probably since Skyrim. Like the way he talks about the game, like this is truly his baby. So do you think this potentially could be another Skyrim level game where like this is something like I'm pouring my all into? Because it really feels like he's putting everything he has into Starfield.
I mean, like in conversation, it does sound like that, but I mean, we've seen very little. We've seen no like true gameplay or anything,
True.
so it's hard to make that judgment. It certainly you get the impression that they are not doing the same thing as Fallout 4, where it's just essentially a little bit, up-res versus it's the predecessor.
Yeah.
You get the impression that it is certainly going to be better cared for than Fallout 76, and
at least.
Right. And so kind of in that idea, like it should be better than Skyrim and it should be doing a more modern version of all of that. And so I would expect and hope so. That said, like to say that it's the Magnum Opus, we just don't know. I don't even know how to play that game. I don't even know what it looks like. And so that's where it's hard for me to make the gut statement of like, yes, absolutely. But in the way that they're speaking about it, in the influx of cash that Microsoft allowed them to do, the flexibility of Game Pass and saying, hey, take your time. Microsoft was willing to delay Halo for a year, and that has its own conversation points, but certainly the gameplay of Halo is elite. You have to think that if Starfield needs it, it's going to get it. And they seem very confident in this date that they've put down for later this year.
He said it's in pen. He said the date is in pen, not pencil.
Yeah, which
specifically.
Is so cool. I mean, maybe it was supposed to come out this year, and they said, nope, we want another year. Microsoft was like, cool. Whatever it is, I don't know if it's the Magnum Opus, but it certainly gives good vibes. And I think Skyrim fans should be excited. Fallout fans should be excited because they've put out some incredible titles in years past.
Absolutely. I agree. And the one thing we do on this show, man, we do a whole lot of fantasy football type stuff. So I know we have limited information, very limited regarding Starfield. I'm a vibey. Like I'm just going based off the vibe that it's giving off, and just every time we see it, every time we hear about it. I know we haven't seen any actual, I mean, we've seen some in-engine stuff, very little. So I know there's very little, we're going off crumbs here. But just to me, just the vibe surrounding this game, it feels like it's just going to be one of them things that, and I mean, just think about the fact that he said, this is the game we've been wanting to make for 25 years. That means a lot. Like he doesn't say that about every game, like this is a game he's been sitting, this idea has been sitting, rolling around his head for that long period of time. So I do agree with you, Luke. I mean, we have limited information. That's understandable. I do think that it does have the possibility of being like their best game, that they've ever created. So taking, a lot of clues and a lot of inspiration from some of the other games that they've already created. So let's go ahead and get this over. I'm going to save you for last, Pong. We save you for last on this one. So let's actually go ahead and get this over to Fuzz, man. I want to get your opinion on this, man. I mean, I said Magnum Opus. Maybe that's a bit strong. I get Luke's purpose and point because we have very limited information, but I just think the care and the way he talks about this game, like he just sounds like he's having so much fun. It really feels to me like he's really creating a dream. Like this is a dream, and he's finally able to put this dream to paper.
Well, I think the big thing is with Microsoft first party studios, and including Bethesda now, since they're part of the family, giving that extra time and care to massage any of the blemishes or bugs or whatnot, I think is going to make a world of difference. Like we can see evidence of just how polished this beta of a multiplayer is with Halo. Yes, the campaign's coming out next week. We haven't physically played that yet, but considering the year delay, I would say that was well uh, used as far as the time to work on things. And I think the same could be said about Starfield. Like Starfield probably was that game that was ready this year, and they were like, you know what, we want to release Halo this year because we've already pushed it back. Let's just push this back. And I guess they didn't want to do it like early, this coming year, but
Yeah.
make it like the exclamation point for the year for next year, and having that extra time to polish the game. I think this will definitely be a night and day difference compared to like Fallout 76 as far as the range of polish. And with 76, they've been constantly working on that, and they've gotten that to a very good state as far as its current playable state now. So I would say everything that they've learned over their past few releases, and the time and care that it takes to get those to, you know the fan base's, sweet spot, I guess you could say. They're definitely taking that, as well as the love and care and energy that he's put into this idea that he's had for what, over 20 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of been like his you know his imagination that he wanted to unravel on the world. But he had to kind of like test things out and Fallout and test things out in Skyrim, let's say. And I think this one's going to be a better game in general for it, for the fact that it's just the time and care, the what appears to be like an unwritten delay, just because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, it should come out in 2021. I think this game will, when we find out more as far as gameplay wise, which, the lore stuff that they're releasing now is just so interesting. It's like this the I won't say it's the same feel as far as like a Mass Effect or even Destiny, but it's like, that there's a lot to it, just other than kind of like you're in space and you're exploring. No, there's going to be factions and story and sectors and all kinds of different interactions between these different races or entities and things like that. So I, I I get the vibe that this is going to be not just something special, but more than special as far as once it's released. That's kind of where I'm at on it right now. Maybe not Magnum Opus, but it's definitely going to be a talked about game in a positive way, where it will probably have the effect on gaming, or at least sci-fi gaming, the way Mass Effects did when it was released. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Okay. No, I completely understand. It's going to be a huge game. And I think in a lot of ways, just the way Todd talks about it and just the care, the level of care. And I do love the lore stuff that's come out about it. I really do. That always gets me excited about these types of games. I think that's huge. So I do agree. Obviously, we haven't seen any actual gameplay. I do wholeheartedly. I mean, obviously, I think we're going to see that at E3. I think we finally get some full walkthrough gameplay there, maybe even sooner, depending. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Centurion. Just get your opinion on just Starfield. Overall, what are your thoughts about it? I said Magnum Opus, and I just feel like based on what, the way Todd's talked about it, that's kind of how I'm, that kind of how I'm envisioning Starfield. But where you at on this, Centurion?
I'm definitely excited for Starfield. I remember when I first read about Starfield many, many moons ago when it was PC only. I was just kind of shrugging it off because, like, oh, it's going to be PC. I'm never going to have time for that experience because I've never gamed really on PC. And then as it started becoming more prevalent that it was going to come to the ninth generation consoles, I was totally getting excited. I started delving more into what it was going to offer me as a gamer. And of course, the minute you throw the word Skyrim or Fallout, my ears perk up like, squirrel, what'd you say? And I definitely am excited for what Todd Howard's offering. I'm really looking forward to what they're crafting. This is going to be something new, honestly, for Todd Howard and his team. And that's where a lot of the naysayers have tried to come out and say that this is going to be basically bad because, this game is going to have more polish and more it's going to have a more serious nature compared to anything that they've ever done when it comes to writing or the amount of polish, because everybody's always talked about the bugs that make Fallout and Skyrim almost a little bit more comical, and then the writing between Skyrim and Fallout is more not as a serious tone as what is being projected for Starfield. But that's where I'm looking forward to a new experience that Todd Howard and his team are going to give us. I'm looking forward to exploring the galaxy. I'm a total sci-fi nut. I love like everybody mentioned, the lore that's already been released and the intriguing little tidbits that have been kind of put out there for what we're going to see when it comes to factions and some of the other, I don't want to say races, but the other groups that are going to make up this galaxy. And speaking of galaxy, it's taking part in our little part of the galaxy, which is, it's not some galaxy far, far away, or it's taking place in the Andromeda galaxy, which is nowhere near here. We're dealing with the Milky Way and what, our own home here. But definitely, I love how I could really go on into a lot of detail on just how I love how Todd Howard designs games. I've heard some criticism. They're like, everybody's tired of like going into a Todd Howard experience and seeing like, oh, you're like the most special person alive, and that, I love to play games to actually have that experience, to escape every day mundane life where, everybody's just making the motions. When you play a Todd Howard game, the game is focused on you, and he wants you to feel special, because this is a very special thing that he has crafted for us, and he wants you to enjoy it to its fullest, and to feel that it needs to feel like real life, where you're just the average person and you're just stuck in this environment. I love how Todd Howard makes you the focus of this entire world. We saw that in Skyrim and Fallout. As you would do things in the game, other NPCs would acknowledge what you would do, and they'd even talk to you differently than what you're normally seeing out of most games. I just am. Yeah, I probably can't go into as best detail as Pong, because I mean, Pong is got more hype for Todd Howard than I can, because I mean, dude, he calls him God Howard. I don't even know how to top that. I'm just really looking forward to what Starfield is going to offer us and how it's going to push gaming forward. I'm really looking forward to the story that they have crafted for us, and just investing as many hours into this game as I have with every Bethesda title before that. I've played all the Fallouts. I've enjoyed playing Elder Scrolls, especially Elder Scrolls Online. I cannot go on long enough about how I have been playing Bethesda titles for as long as I can remember, and I'm pretty much frothing at the mouth, ready to tackle Starfield and probably put all my other gaming aside to pretty much get lost in this game for a month, maybe longer. I've got 30 days of time stacked in Fallout 4 alone. We won't even talk about Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, and ESO combined. There's probably another couple months. So this is definitely going to put a lot of gaming on the back burner for me when this game comes out.
All right. Well, once again, I just think, overall Starfield's amazing. I think, we'll see if it's going to be as amazing as I hope. Hopefully it is, and hopefully that that we're seeing so far. So let's go ahead and get this over to you, Pong. Obviously, the floor is yours, Pong, on this particular topic. So we'll just go ahead and let you run with this, brother, because I mean, Starfield is something that, as a big, Bethesda fan as you are, I'm sure you're looking forward to it just about more than any title that's coming out next year, if not far more than any title that's coming out next year.
Yeah, I mean, I was on the hill. I died on my hill that it was coming out this year. So yeah, you know how much I'm waiting for this one. Look, I don't even know where to begin on this. This is this is going to be his Magnum opus for sure. This is Todd's third dream title that third dream franchise, I should say, that he's always wanted to create. So he wanted a high fantasy game, right? And he created Elder Scrolls, right? He wanted it as a post-apocalyptic RPG. Went and did Fallout, right? And he's always had this dream, like you said, PTK, for 25 plus years of doing a sci-fi open RPG. And he finally believes the tech is at the point where he can create this. And so he waited this entire time because of that. And now they have the new updated creation engine. And this is going to be their first game out with that. I do believe they were shooting for this year. And I do believe that at the end of the day, Xbox didn't. I think Xbox was, because if you go back and you think about during the acquisition process and when they first announced the acquisition and they were talking about with any of the higher ups at Xbox, there was multiple interviews with many people, even people we don't normally hear from, and they would mention Starfield. Right, this was a big get for them. Sony wanted to lock this game down for at least a year to 2 years when they saw it. Okay, that's the rumor out there, that they want to lock this away as an exclusive. This game is going to be Todd's baby and that entire team. This latest interview that they had, this little behind the scenes, I love these. Bethesda does these like self interviews where they have parts of their team sit down. This last one that came out this week with Todd, with studio director Angela Browder and art director Matt Carofano, was absolutely amazing, because these are 3 people who have been together for decades over there at Bethesda. They are a family. They're not just coworkers. They're not just simply friends, but a lot of the people over there are actually family. They attend each other's weddings. This is a special group of people, and they've also introduced new blood as well. And they talked about this in this interview that, hey, we've got these core people who have been with us for a very long time, who have created some of the biggest franchises going, but we also have new blood coming in. Some of them who as kids were playing our games, and that's the reason why they're here, because we inspired them. This is a group effort. I know everybody brings up Fallout 76. Look, Todd put his name on it, so he does have to own the criticism. Okay, he put his name on it, but that was a game that was not done by the A team. That was a game that they were working on Starfield already at that point. That was a game that was pushed out that was forced upon them by the the investors, by the board of ZeniMax, because they were trying to grab some money before they sold. Okay. Todd put his name on it. So again, he's got to own that criticism, but that wasn't one of those games. He's explained that in interviews before. That wasn't one of his games that he checks in on. Or he doesn't watch over and oversee like he does with his babies. That's a game that he checks in maybe once every couple weeks, maybe a month. Again, criticism is deserved, but they've done a lot of things right with that game, and it's a totally different game. If you go play it, it's actually a really good Fallout experience for any Fallout fans out there. Funny that nobody brings up ESO, Elder Scrolls Online, as the biggest MMO console-wise out there going outside of Final Fantasy 14. ESO is a success and a hit. So again, Bethesda has had their screw-ups. Obviously, they've made their mistakes. Todd's overpromised things. He's a very excited developer. He's one of the best in the business, but sometimes we've seen those in the past. Kojima's overpromised. Peter Molyneux's overpromised. There's been plenty of big-time devs who have overpromised because their vision is so big. Todd has got caught up in that as well. That happens. I don't care. When you have a creative force like this, you go. He's now creating the final franchise that he's always wanted to do is finally coming to pass. I think they went to Xbox and said, look, another year would be great. We can get it really polished up. We've got the Bethesda name out there. We're going to try to fix that. If you give us another year of polish, it'll be better. And I think that Phil and everybody said, take it. We got Halo. We got Forza Horizon 5. We're good. You go right ahead. Do your thing, right? So I think that this year is going to make this game extra special. People don't understand what it means because it's been so long since we've had one of these big franchises from Bethesda come out. Fallout 76 does not count because it was a different style as an MMO. A single player experience from Bethesda is rare. It's been so long that since we've had one, people forget again what it's like. Much like people forgot how big Halo is, people forget how big Todd Howard babies are. Okay. When they come out, they hit. People took off of work for Skyrim. That does not happen for RPGs very often. People were standing in line, taking off of work for Skyrim. When Starfield drops, when we get the first glimpse of it at E3, and I believe that's where it's going to be. That's their MO. We're going to have a huge, gigantic showcase for Starfield. When it drops in E3, you guys just watch out. Stand back and watch. Again, could it fail? Absolutely. I'm not saying this is locked at 100%, but I'm going to tell you it's as closest thing to 100% as you can get in gaming. This game is going to be special. This game is going to stop a lot of people dead in their tracks, take notice, and all those people that were trying to claim, yeah, great, you got Bethesda. I'm not buying Game Pass for Bethesda. Guess what? There's going to be a lot of those people buying Game Pass for Bethesda. Okay. It's going to happen. This is going to convert a lot of people into the ecosystem. Starfield is going to be the next big thing. It's going to be the next big franchise. Todd has been waiting too long to do this. And in that interview, they said every interview he's done, like you talked about, PTK, is nothing but filled with confidence. This man has been doing this for so long, creating worlds for so long. He gets it. And he's very comfortable with who he is and what he's got as a team underneath him. He is very comfortable. And he understands that this is the next big thing for him. And you don't see him shying away from that. You see him doubling down, quadrupling down on this fact that he knows this is his next big one. And his legacy as a game developer is only going to increase because of this one. And you can see it in his eyes. He knows it. He's got something here. He talked about in that interview, they talked about not only the team that they have together, but they talked about what it means to be a Bethesda title, what it means to be one of their RPGs. He said, we know people are going to spend hundreds of hours in our game. And that's something we want to continue to do, because he said that the important thing is, and this is what hits home for me, he's like, it's not always about what you do in the game. It's about all the things that you don't do in the game that you go back to and you explore and you find again. That's what it's about. I'm replaying through Skyrim again, falling in love with it all over again, just like I did back on 360. That's not every game can do that, but that's because these worlds that they create over there are something to be explored and to experience. And it's different for everybody because of the randomness, because of the way that you can choose to play the game. All those things are open for you to decide. And nobody plays a Bethesda title the same way, right? And that's what makes these games special. And they're bringing that to Starfield. I also love to hear what he had to say. They always have that wow moment when you step out into the world for the first time. Like when you come out, the Fallout shelter and you step into that world and it's a wow moment for you. He said, we've got 2 of them in Starfield, according to him. And obviously people have been guessing online, and I think people are correct. One is going to be the first time that you're in the main starting point.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing the world leading up to your spaceship, whatever the case may be, however they set up that opening scene, because Bethesda sets up the opening stuff great. However that setup is, that's going to be your first wow moment. Second wow moment, when you hop in that spaceship and you travel and you break through the atmosphere for the first time and you're in space and you're looking out going, I get to explore this. I get to go over here. I get to go to this planet. I get to go to this planet. We don't know how many there's going to be. We don't know. But he's saying there's 2 wow moments. Guarantee you that's it when you hit that. And that music crescendos as you pass through the atmosphere and hit space. They know how to do this stuff. It's going to be an amazing moment. Another thing he said is that one of the biggest things about their titles is being able to just sit and watch the sunrise, sunset, watch the world pass you. It feels like you're in a living, breathing world. And they're doing that again, but taking it to the next level with the new technology. And with the new engine, they're able to put even more of that in there. He said you're going to be able to interact with all the different objects within the game, just like you could. So if you want to, take all the mugs, you can take all the mugs. Like some people like to collect mugs. Some people like to collect plates. My trunk is ridiculous. It takes 5 minutes to scroll through my trunk of stuff that I collect. That's part of Bethesda's games as well, and they're continuing that with Starfield. So he's taking the best of everything we saw in Skyrim, the best bits of Skyrim, putting into Starfield, taking it up a notch, and then including and working on making the world feel even more believable than it has in the past, because they can do things different now that they could before. He's talking about new mechanics within the game. Obviously, the gravity is probably going to play a new part in the game. That's all going to be stuff that they are figuring out right now. That's going to be new to people, but it's going to be a part of that whole experience of, hey, I get to go explore I get to go explore this space system, right? I get to go explore this solar system. I get to go see what's out there. And he said that was the thing that they talked about, right? They go around whenever they make a game and they talk to the team and they ask everybody, what's the main part of this game, right? What are we doing with this game? What is the question that we are answering with this game? And he said, almost to a person, they all said with Starfield, it's what's out there, right? That's discovery. That's what I love about it. That's why sci-fi is one of the best places to do this in, because you don't know what's out there. And Skyrim's one thing. You're on one world, you're in one section of land. It's big, it's gigantic. There's a lot to see, a lot to find. When you're talking about space, you're talking about multiple planets. You're talking about not knowing what you're going to see. When you walk into Skyrim, you know you're going to get dragons, right? You know you're going to get monsters. You know you're going to get trolls. We don't know what we're going to find in Starfield because we've never seen it before. And we don't know from planet to planet what's going to be there. That brings us back time and time and time again. That's what's going to get me. And I can't wait for this game. This will be their biggest game. This is going to bring back and remind everybody why Bethesda is king of the Western RPGs. Because again, it's been too long since we've seen one. People forget. If you go back and play Skyrim right now, 10-year-old game, still one of the best games out there ever created for Western RPGs to this day. And now that they brought it up to date, you get to fall in love with it all over again. And you're reminded. Now, if they're going to take all of that and do it even better on a new engine, bring it up to date in space, yeah, this is going to be the crowning achievement for Todd. This is going to be the crowning achievement on his legacy in this industry. And I think we are all in for something special come November 11th, 2022. Cannot wait.
Awesome. And I don't think there's really anything else to say after that. So we're gonna go ahead and move on just to the next topic, and we're gonna wrap this thing up. So we're gonna talk a little bit about essentially everything surrounding Halo. And really the only reason we're talking about this because we didn't get a chance to talk about it last week. So obviously there's been so much going on surrounding Halo Infinite. Everything that we've gotten so far, the beta came out. It's been phenomenal. Obviously, there's been a lot of conversation around the battle pass and progression system. And I just want to get everybody's general opinion. And we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because I feel like it's been talked to death, but we just haven't gotten a chance to have a conversation about it on the Shop podcast. So we're going to start with you a little bit, Luke. Now, just to throw this out there, I just put my 2 cents on the whole situation. 12 months ago, we were talking about Craig, right? Like that's where we were at. I mean, I think we can all agree that's where we were at about a year and a half ago regarding Halo. Fast forward to today, we got a beta that plays or performs better than most games that have come out already. The not necessarily the betas, but the flight tests were almost flawless. The game looks better than it did prior to. Well, obviously it looks better than the first time they showed us. So many improvements, so many cool things that they're doing for the game. And people are hung up on a couple things. Like I said, the battle pass and progression system. Now, I do agree as far as XP. There does need to be more XP given out, and they're working on these things and they're tweaking these things actively. And the last thing I want to say is that the fact that they've already come out and provided like semi solutions already on a game that they gave to us early, we weren't even supposed to be playing any of this until next week. We weren't even supposed to have access to this till next week. So the fact that they're doing all these things for a portion of the game that we weren't even supposed to have access to yet means a lot. And they've already put out a couple patches. They're working on. They're very active. They're very transparent as well. They've worked pretty much through the holidays trying to work on this thing. They took a little bit of time off for the holiday for Thanksgiving, but they right back in it, and they're still providing updates and taking feedback. So I just think overall they're doing the best they possibly can. Obviously, this thing is going to evolve over time. And let's be honest, Luke, if we're being honest, the Halo community is never going to be unified. It doesn't matter how much they do with this battle pass or progression. That's just something that's built in. Welcome to the Halo community if you never experienced it. You're getting a first-hand experience on what it's like to be in the Halo community. So just give your quick opinion, Luke, on just some of the changes and all some of the stuff that's been talked about. Do you feel like maybe it's a little overblown, or just kind of where you at on all of it?
Well, it's a problem. It's not overblown that it's a problem, and that they've got this brilliant title now. They've you're right. The gameplay is elite. It is industry standard now with Battlefield and Vanguard both flopping pretty heavily upon release. It's great to see the gameplay, and Halo is back. It's in the conversation. While I have not played it, I did not get a review code. Everybody that I know that has played and finished Infinite has positive things to say. And so that is telling that they triaged over this last year things that were most important. What is eyebrow raising and concerning to me is that while they're reacting quickly, that season 1 is going to be 6 months long. That is just absurdly long for any shooter. Particularly now with the XP changes they have already implemented, people are going to be done with this battle pass by Christmas. Not just the hardcore players, but people will be cruising through this thing pretty quickly now.
Well, people are asking for more XP than what they've given already. People want a better system.
I think they want a better system, and they should have, and they deserve a better system. And it's not about upgrading faster. It's not about leveling up faster. It's about getting worthwhile rewards as you go. And it's weird to me. Something I've said since the moment we saw this was they had in-house examples for how to do it right. Gears was good. Sea of Thieves and Master Chief Collection had great progression battle pass systems. And it's just surprising to me that they kind of missed the mark on that one. Their inability, they came out today and they talked about their inability to react quickly in some cases versus others. Because of the way that their progression system existed, they don't want to or can't do quick fixes to playlists. To me, that's very eyebrow raising, and that's a problem. I should not have to play Oddball 3 times in a row to play one Slayer match. To me, that's an inherent flaw, and that does worry me. Mm-hmm. Now, when I say that it worries me, that's not a doom and gloom statement. I'm saying it worries me that I don't want people to bounce off and leave this great gameplay experience because they don't feel their time is worthwhile. You can be a Halo purist, or you can be new to the game. You're going to have a lot more people that are new to the game than purist, without a doubt, because you have a free-to-play element to this. But the reality is, in a modern-day shooter, you have to have meaningful, worthwhile progression. Mm-hmm. And Infinite's Battle Pass does not give that, even with its changes. They should have currency in there. They should have more unlocks, more customization options. All that to say, man, I freaking love Halo Infinite. Being critical of something doesn't mean it's bad. It means you're being critical and critiquing stuff that can be better. And there is some just absolutely fantastic gameplay to be had within Halo. Brilliant visuals to be had, sound design. There's just a lot there that is excellent. The progression needs work, and there's no problem with calling that out. There is a problem with calling that out disrespectfully and with villainy. That's not, I think, what you're talking about.
No, it's not. But there's a couple things. So I got a couple counterpoints to play devil's advocate. So my issue, Luke, is I get it, and I support a lot of the changes that people are championing, like some of the changes and ideas that people have out there about tweaking the system. I absolutely agree that it does need some adjustments. The adjustments are not what I'm talking about. I just feel like people are bringing the wrong energy to Halo. It's not Fortnite. I think people are like migrating these ideas that, because I mean, let's be honest, right? Like, if we're being 100% honest, a lot of people are migrating. The one fact that it's free to play means a lot of people that haven't traditionally played Halo are just walking into Halo at this point because there's no price point. You can just walk in and play. Free to play opens the door. So I think that a lot of that mentality is coming over from Fortnite, from Apex, and and it's not necessarily the way that they initially made the game. I get it. I agree 100% that it absolutely needs some tweaking. Playlists, things like that, and they're going to make the adjustments. And please continue to give feedback, people, constructive feedback, not just yelling and screaming on Twitter like they've been doing. Constructive. There's a place to leave it. You can go leave it there. There's a website, all kind of stuff. Go leave it. They'll take the feedback. They've been doing it. I just think the energy, to me, some of it's just been a bunch of nonsense. Like, give the one, to me, I think the most telling thing is that we got it. How many times do we do it? Does a dev give us a game sooner than we're supposed to have it? Does that ever happen?
Right. All right. So your point is well taken. I think we have to call out the things that are inherently game-breaking problems, and that is like cheating, right? There's no comfortable, simple report option for a game that was designed to lock you out of being console specific. Like, crossplay is on by default, and there's a lot of layers to stopping that. Mm-hmm. That needs to be fixed. That has to get cleaned up because the player experience depends upon it. They created a free-to-play element. You're right about the energy from Fortnite expectations, but they created a free-to-play game. They had to know that was going to happen. And so those are my critiques. But in critiquing, those 2 and 3 elements, if you count the progression unlocks in there, that doesn't mean that I'm lambasting the game. The game is just fantastic. Yeah. I love it. I like the ideas with it, but there's going to be comments about what's not working when you have that much love and passion about something that is as good as
sure.
it is. Yeah,
no, for sure.
So
I
that's
agree.
where I'm coming from.
I agree with you, Luke. And I know you're not one of them dudes on Twitter yelling and screaming. I know that's not even your personality. You're gonna give feedback the proper way. You're gonna go in, wherever you need to go. So I understand. I just think that a lot of it's just people are bringing the wrong energy. A lot of people that are playing Halo now haven't experienced Halo. I just feel like a lot of that's just coming from a lot of people, migrating over from other games, having a different experience in that free to play space. And let's be honest, people talk about these like progression systems, Fortnite, Apex, like those are far from perfect. And they will Destiny right now. Like we talk about Destiny, like I play Destiny more than just about any other game I have, and they're sunsetting content that I paid for. I can't even play it anymore.
Yeah,
so it's like
weird. Yeah.
So I mean, if we're being truthful, a lot of the games we've been playing the last 2 or 3 years still have glaring issues. So just allow this game to evolve over time. That's my only ask. And people jumping on Twitter acting like this is going to be a finished product in a week or two. We got this game early. We weren't even supposed to have access to this game until next week. So it's just for me. I don't know. I may be coming from a different perspective, but let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz. Get your perspective on what do you think about just some of the stuff going around about Halo and all of the talk surrounding Halo and the battle pass and progression.
For me, it's kind of a weird deal because I'm a big fan of Horizon right now, and it's got its issues. And I almost wish they had the same level of communication or openness or clarity as far as time frame for fixes or feedback with the community. There are outlets where you can report the bugs and things like that, but it seems like it's a little less open to feedback from the community in comparison. So I kind of like the fact that the 343 devs are at least a little bit more open or a little bit more transparent, I guess you could say. So the feedback that they're getting, as long as it's constructive, it's great. The fact that they're moving quickly on a lot of these things is, I mean, I look at it as a positive thing because I've played live service games like The Division where it almost took people leaving the game before they invited players, which it was a bit of a unique and different move where they invited players to the studio and stuff, but they finally got it. Like they finally got the message and listened and made the effort to make these changes that the community was asking for. So I applaud 343 and the efforts that they're making. I agree with Luke. Yes, they had in-house examples that they probably should have looked at, like with with Gears and things, as far as how they had their content planned out and stuff. But it's tough to say, only because I'm not as much going to be playing the multiplayer as I am going to be playing the single player. I understand progression means a lot, but I wonder at some point, because like you guys are saying, with that season being 6 months and progression now making a little bit more sense where you can progress a little bit faster, or people are going to hit a wall or burn out when they have their their max level at the by January 1 or 2, and nothing new is really coming until like May or so. So it's kind of like that balancing act they're definitely going to have to work on. So I'm appreciative of them listening to the community and making changes, but also I hope they have some like surprise content or some non-seasonal related add-on things that are going to be coming in between them, because I have a feeling there's going to be not really stagnation, but kind of like what the Division ran into with their season pass, where it's like, okay, you finished the pass, you made level 100, all right, just play it again and get the content, like the drops again. But with this not being like a looter shooter, those drops aren't, it's not like they're taking those away and giving them back to you. Hopefully they don't do anything ridiculous like that, but there's no real benefit as in like crafting, turning those things into crafting material or whatnot, or doing a slightly different build for it. But I just critiquing is great. Constructive critiquing is great, I should say. I try to make my critiquing of Forza constructive, but sometimes it gets very frustrating when you just spent like 500,000 on a car and mods, and all of that disappears because the server is out of sync. But the whole forced crossplay, they should have had some things in place to kind of work on that, where certain matches or playlists and things like that, you can avoid that. And I know why they want to do the cross play and stuff like that between console and PC, but they had to know that at some point there is going to be that cheating element, especially with it being a free to play, that these PC cats get in here, and it's not to disparage any of the PC crowd, because I'm a PC player on other stuff, but PC players are a small segment of them are going to take every advantage they can to, make top ranking on the leaderboard, or make sure that they don't bottom frag and stuff, even if they're totally crappy at playing a first person shooter. So they got to work on that aspect of things, where that the cheating that some PC players are doing is fixed, but on the console end of things, they definitely got to make it so that the fan base is happy, but also not burned out, before the next season drops. So that's all I really got.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and throw this over to Centurion and get your quick opinion on just, where you at with some of the Halo stuff, and, we'll knock this out. But go ahead, brother.
With Halo, I'll be upfront. I bought the battle pass. Yes, I was not a big fan of the XP grind. It looks like they're already changing that model to make it easier for people. Ditto, I believe they need to give you enough XP where everything is given to you. I don't, I understand the idea of working for this stuff. This is why, people who play the games more heavily and more hardcore than I do, look a certain way. And I'm over here still with basic skins and basic upgrades to my armor, unless I want to put that kind of time in. But I definitely don't agree with a lot of the criticism that they have been receiving with this. I like actually how you said it, PTK, that, there's actually a lot of games that have a lot of flaws, but for some reason, again, Xbox has their feet held over the fire. They got to somehow live above the standard example of what we've seen from game types like this. But I already feel that Xbox has done at least a much better job than a lot of these games, as we already see the developers already on social media interacting with the player base. They're acknowledging the issues that are being addressed by the player base. I'm enjoying my experience so far with Halo. I'm enjoying the game modes. I do believe there should be more flexibility if you're looking to play a specific game mode. But for the most part, I've enjoyed my experience with Halo, but I think that's partially because of the people that I've played the game with. That is mostly my experience with Halo, is finding a really good group of friends that I continuously play the game with. And that's my experience. I could probably care less about the upgrades and all the little shiny stuff that comes with it. As long as I got great friends to play with it, that's my base experience. But also, I feel Microsoft has already taken it a step further by making it to where you can actually, still grind for some of this stuff even after that season is ended. They're not going to just basically can your season pass, which is industry standard, and move on to the next one. You could go back and continue earning items. I'm just not, I guess, I feel like I'm not on the same island as people when it comes to Halo. And that's not because I feel Halo is a perfect product. There's always room for improvement. But I also just, for some reason, I don't hold them to a different standard as what goes on throughout the entire gaming industry.
No, I get it. And I understand. I just think that, like, for me, I just remember where we were at. at one point, right? Like I think we all can like rewind our brains back to that point to where they first showed that campaign and everybody, it was Craig and it was all of this, and it was take the game away from 343s, dissolve them, have somebody else make the game, all that, to the point to where we're currently at now, where they have by far the big three came out this year. That was the first time that's happened in a generation essentially, where we had Call of Duty, Battlefield, and Halo come out all in the same holiday, and they're by far have the best product out of the three.
I would agree. Now, I remember back in those days where we came from I was one of those guys that didn't say take the game away from 343. I was one of those that the leadership needed to be kind of shuffled around, which we did see did happen with the Halo development team, that some of the leadership was shuffled around. They brought in, I am bad with names. We all know this. The individual who actually helped do some of the original Halos, who's actually kind of been like the spokesperson for Halo now, for Halo Infinite. And I feel he's done a good job of leading the team in a new direction and helping find a good direction for this game. But I just think it's very interesting how everybody was up in arms with the footage that was originally shown with Craig. Because I think it's really interesting how we can all take other brands, other game franchises, where we could be like, this is an alpha build, this is a beta build, this is a pre-build, this is basically not the finished product. And I went into that when I saw basically the Craig trailer, the trailer that everybody saw, that everybody was completely unhappy with. Yes, there was a lot of room for improvement. Yes, it didn't look as good and clean as everybody wanted it to. But at the time, I also, in my mind, was like, this is not the finished product. And not at any time did Microsoft, at least the stuff I read and watched, did they say this was the finished product. And obviously they did put it in the oven for more time. They knew that they needed more time than what they had for it to come out in the time. Because I know it was like July and it was supposed to come out with the Xbox Series X and Series S in November. Obviously it needed more time than 4 months. That's where I feel at least that it did deserve to be delayed, and they did the right thing by delaying it. We all see what happens now when you do delay a game and give it more time, more development. We're getting the finished, the polished product that we're getting now. But not at any time did I think during the whole Craig debacle that this is what I'm getting.
No, once again, that's understandable. I just mean like the overall impression. Twitter's not everybody. Sometimes we get lost, and Twitter feels like it's everybody saying the same thing. But that's not the case. But just the general consensus at that point, it was a lot of outrage just about the way the game looked. But I'm gonna make sure I go ahead and get to Pong as well too. So go ahead, Pong. It's on you, brother. We'll just go ahead and wrap this up with you, my G. So where you at on this?
Yeah, look, 343 is doing something. This is their first big foray into free to play. All right, I expected bumps, bruises. It wasn't going to be perfect. I agree with Luke stating that they already had, examples examples in place of how to do certain things. However, they obviously use their own analytics. They were trying something different, and it didn't work out. I mean, I started, again, casual Halo fan. I've been putting more time in Battlefield than I have in Halo. But at the end of the day, we saw it in flighting, and I said these challenges are going to be a problem. If this is the only way to earn XP, it's going to be a problem, right? People are going to have issues with this. And, it started rumbling then. And obviously, once we got the final, we got the beta. Yeah, it's not the final product, but everybody kind of knew at the time when they said it was a beta, hey, it was a wink, wink. This is really close to what we're going to see on actual launch day. So when that happened, obviously it kind of blew up on them. Now, they've been extremely transparent. They've been upfront. They've been talking about it nonstop, even taking time away from their vacation time to speak about it, to come out and say, hey, we're going to work on this. Yeah, some of the things that they've said, and there was another big release today from one of the 343 members kind of explaining the whole situation and why they did what they did and where it's at. I agree with Luke. There's some of the explanations is a little strange about how tied up a lot of the different systems are to, that they seem to keep saying that it's going to take time to just, put in custom playlists, that kind of thing. That, again, I'm not a dev, don't know how they, program this stuff, don't know what it all involves, but we've seen other games change up playlists extremely quick. I don't know why that's different here. I'm just going to take them at face value because I don't have any reason not to take them at face value. There's a reason why they did what they did. They obviously believed it was going to be for the best on Halo, and it hasn't turned out that way as far as the community goes. Now, this is not a game that's going away anytime soon. So I understand you want to have the best first impression. Well, guess what? First impression for most people is going to be the gameplay. And what we're talking about here is cosmetics at the end of the day, right? Yes, the crossplay is the crossplay is important as well. And that should be as just, you can go in your system and turn it off. And they've explained that it's not convenient in any way, shape, or form, but you can do it if you really want to. And there's cheaters on both sides. Console, look, you can look up right now, 4-star rated, as my brother from another steel has brought up many times, you can go buy 4-star rated things that you can hook right into your Series X, and you can be cheating just the way the PC players do on your console. It's as simple as that nowadays, but they're also working on that, and they've come out and they've got systems in place. They're never going to be able to get it to go totally away, but yes, from a convenience factor, they should have the crossplay. But as far as the rest of it goes, we're arguing about cosmetics. We're not talking about the gameplay. Everybody goes, the gameplay is freaking fantastic. One of the best experiences I've had in a long time, right? This is probably the most polished first-person shooter that we've had come out of the box. Not even come out of the box, come out early. It's probably the most polished first-person shooter we've had in, I can't even remember, probably decades, okay, at this point. So everybody is going to have the great impression of the gameplay. So will there be people that drop off? Yes. They do have to be conscious of that. I agree with Luke, because they're not trying to just draw in the old fan base of Halo.
They're trying to keep people.
They're trying to get that fan base back, which they've done fantastic, right? The Halo players are here to stay. They love this game. They can complain and moan all day long about the XP and all that kind of stuff, but they're going to continue to play Halo nonstop. But they're trying to draw in a bigger audience. That's why they went to this model. And they do have to be careful because it's not the old days. There's a ton of competition out there for people's engagement. And they do have to be careful that people don't drop it and never come back again. But again, this is a 10-year plan. This game is not going away. So if they fix it, people are going to be playing this nonstop. There's still going to be millions of people playing this game no matter what, because the Halo fan base is here to stay. The king has returned, okay? With bells and whistles. This game has impressed everybody. So there's still going to be people playing it. If they fix that XP, the word's going to go out, hey, things are fixed. We got it, they've got it figured out. Things are much better than they were. You can earn, XP at a reasonable pace. It feels like you're progressing. They're fixing, the cosmetics that they're giving us. They're doing all that kind of stuff. That word will spread and people will come back. They just have to be careful because you can't let it go for too long. And I don't think they are. Right. So for me, at the end of the day, when I look at this stuff, I just go, we're literally arguing about cosmetics. And I know it's a big deal nowadays, but honestly, the gameplay is 100% spot on. And you could not have asked for a better multiplayer from 343. That at the end of the day is the most important piece of this, because that's what people play games for. Yeah, again, cosmetics are a big deal nowadays. Skins are a big deal. We know this. It's changed. There's a lot of games that do it. There's a lot of games that have gotten it right. There's a lot of games that have gotten it wrong. But at the end of the day, 343 can fix that. If the gameplay was broken, that would have been a much bigger issue.
Exactly.
Right? If that would have been a problem, then you're talking about something that may never have been fixed, and we might have been having a whole different discussion here tonight. But we're talking about cosmetics, XP, and some cross-play stuff. All of those things can be adjusted, they can be fixed, they can be worked on, and this game is going to be around. Again, if it's real, and they honestly think they can keep this whole thing going for 10 years, we've got plenty of time. Don't worry about it. We got the multiplayer early. Campaign drops next week. So far, the buzz around the campaign is they nailed the campaign as well. That's going to cover up a lot of it because people are going to flock to the campaign. We saw it hit the number one for pre-sales on Steam because of how the multiplayer was playing. We're going to be fine. Halo's going to be great. It's going to come around. We're already getting word that the first esports tournament for Halo is the biggest pot in history. for Halo already. We're not even into this game yet.
I'm going to that championship, by the way. In
Are
Raleigh.
you?
Nice.
Are you?
I'm going to that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I have no idea what to expect. We got VIP tickets. I have no clue
cool.
what to
What
expect.
is it? Is it in?
Congratulations.
Is it in NC? Is it out there where you're
Yeah,
at?
it's
Nice.
in Raleigh. VIP tickets were $100, I think, and I have no
Nice.
clue what that means. I don't know what. Do I sit in the arena and just watch Halo for like 8 hours? I don't know what to expect, but I'm very excited.
That's gonna be a heck of an experience. Congratulations, Luke. That's gonna be awesome. But yeah, so the scene is just starting. It's just blowing up. Halo's just here. A lot of it's FUD. People pouring gasoline on it as well. We have to realize that again when we see Twitter, it's not the real world all the time. We get a lot of extra circuses in town, ready to rock and roll. Whenever an opportunity happens, there's people pouring gasoline on it just because they know they can fire people up. They're not people who honestly care about Halo. So a lot of this is that as well. But we just got to be patient. 343 is working on it. We got to give them a chance here. They've created something special, something that a lot of people did not believe they could do, which was bring the majority of the Halo fans together. Like you said, PTK, it's never going to be all together because there's always going to be Halo fans that nitpick here and there and what have their difference of opinions. But they did something that they hadn't done in the past with 4 and 5. They got everybody on pretty much the same page saying this is the best multiplayer we've had since 3. Right. That's the majority of people are saying right now. So if they nail the campaign, we've talked about it here before. You're talking about putting Halo up there with the best Halos of all time. No matter what your opinion is, this Halo Infinite could be that. And we're expecting experiences coming from this game for the next 10 years. That's something special. So give 343 some space here. They've heard everybody talking about it. They're working on it. I think we're going to be just fine at the end of the day. Again, there is some concern because you do have to be careful. It's not the old days. There's a lot of competition out there. People can go elsewhere with their time. But I think no matter what, even if people do go elsewhere right now, I think once they hear things have been fixed, that allure of playing one of the best multiplayer games on the face of the planet right now is going to be enough to draw them back in again. So I think Halo is going to be okay. Let's just calm down a little bit. Cosmetics are cool. Calm down a little bit. It doesn't matter how you look on the battlefield. Okay, learn how to shoot straight. How about that?
So with that, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this show up, man. Episode 233 is in the book. So we appreciate everybody hanging out, watching us live. You guys were amazing, man. Back after a little bit of a hiatus, man. We're just getting kind of back into the swing of things, everyone. So just bear with us here. Bringing obviously more content to you guys. So expect that down the line. But man, it was an awesome show. Appreciate everybody watching. On your way out, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already. I want to make sure we get to our guests. First and foremost, Luke, I do want to say thank you, sir. Appreciate you hanging out with us for a couple hours. I know you have a busy week. You know, you're a busy guy. So I do greatly appreciate you here, though, man. You're like I said, I watch you on a weekly basis. And you're one of like the handful of people. I don't have usually a lot of time to watch podcasts and listen. But I make sure I listen to your show every week. So that's how good of a job you do. So, man, shout out to XEP and just all the positive energy, and all the, wishes and best of luck going forward with that, man. It's going to be huge. And you probably won't even be ready for how big it's going to end up being. But thank you for just hanging out with us a little bit, brother. But let everybody know where they can find you at, Luke.
Well, I'm humbled by that, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I hope that your words inspire a few people to go check out XEP. I'm very proud of it, but it's a solo show I do every week. It's on all your podcast services. And of course, over on YouTube, you have the static file there, but I often interview developers, voice actors, equality advocates for the industry, journalists, Xbox expansion pass on all your podcast services. And you can find me on Twitter at Insipid Ghost.
Yeah, man, please do us a favor. If you're a fan of the show here, please go follow him. Like I said, you will not be disappointed. He gets a lot of different takes. The show is a little bit of a different speed than your typical podcast. So please do me a favor and go check him out. You will not be disappointed. Once again, Luke, thank you so much, brother. Your family here. You already know that, and you're always welcome to come back at any point in time, brother. So thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thanks, man.
Not a problem, brother. So let's go ahead and move to my compadres, man, and we're gonna go ahead and get out of here and go enjoy some actual video games this weekend. But we're gonna get back to you, Pong Harvey, coming fresh off the the last topic there, brother. But how's everything going? And let everybody know where they can find you at, bro. What you got cooking up this week?
Yeah, awesome show. Awesome to be back here. Missed you guys last week. It was it was nice to take a break, but you miss when you love podcasting as much as I do, you do miss it as well.
Yeah.
So I was kind of melancholy on Saturday night last week. It felt weird, but you know what? Great to be back here with you guys. Luke, amazing to have you on the show. Thank you for dropping in and stopping by and obviously talking with us, man. I your intelligence and your takes on things, I always love that fresh perspective from you. So awesome to have you here. And obviously, brothers, as always, great to end my Saturday night this way. I'm glad I could make it tonight. I didn't know for sure if I was going to be able to, but I pushed it and we made it happen. So I was glad to be here because I couldn't miss another week. Chat, you guys were off the charts as always. Nothing but love and respect for everybody out there that comes out and supports us each and every week. Appreciate all of you. Look, you can find me Pong Soul, Xbox, Twitter. You guys know the drill there. Tuesdays, Xbox Factor Podcast, Double Barrel Gaming, Mr. Boomstick, of course, Zemi Games. We've got Archimedes. We've got Mav. We got 3-Bit whenever he's not working, which he's always working now. We got myself there, all Xbox, all the time. Steele's even been showing up on his days off, for God's sake. So it's a great time. We just talk Xbox, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Thursdays, PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM. Come check us out over on Fun Speculations channel. Great new show. We've done 4 episodes now, 5 episodes. Can't remember what it is. But him and I are just having a good time, like Steele and I do. We pick out some topics of the week so far, deep dive them, 1, 2, maybe 3 topics, and go through them for a couple of hours. Just he and I back and forth. Great community over there on Fun Speculations channel. So check us out, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time on Thursday nights. And then back over on Fun Speculations channel, Xbox Ultimate, of course, on Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. The Magnificent 7. Couldn't make it last night. Real life took over, so I could not make the show. That was my first one I missed. But we always have a great time over there. Mav loads it up with guests. It's crazy over there. It's a family. Just we take left turns. Come check us out. 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. You'll love it. And then Saturday mornings, living split screen. Come see myself and my brother from Another Steel Rain. Split screen is all one word. We've got some contests rolling through next weekend, so you want to be there. We're having a great time just building that community. We passed 400 subs over Thanksgiving weekend, so we're on our way to the 1,000. We want to get there, but we want to do it the right way. We don't want to just buy people. We want people to show up that enjoy us. So go listen to our old shows. Go listen to this morning's show. It's 3 hours plus. Me and Steele just having a great time talking about gaming. Community is always involved in the chat. We have great chats going. So come check us out. 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, Saturday mornings, living split screen. Be there. And then otherwise, I'll see you guys next week. But it is the golden age of gaming. So please get out there this weekend, play some games, play what you love what you play. And I'll be talking to you all real soon. Thank you all and have a great night.
Appreciate you being here every single week, Pong. Once again, do me a favor. You guys know where to find Pong at, so please go check him out. Shout out to Mav, Caitlin over there at FSP. They do a fantastic job of putting on an awesome show. Shout out to them. Please go check them out as well. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you before we wrap the entire show up. Centurion, let everybody know where they can find you as well, brother.
Well, guys, it was an amazing show. Totally had some great conversations with you. Thank you to our guests for being here once again. It's always a blast chatting with you. For those interested in following me, please follow me at Centurion1307 at YouTube, Xbox Live, and Twitter. You can also find me right here every Saturday night on the Shop Podcast and every Sunday night on the TXR Podcast. And me and Stubbs Gaming over in the UK, we actually decided to, we've been conversating for years, talking about games in the game industry, and we decided to just start recording ourselves doing that. And we did an episode of something we call Plastic Platforms that appeared this last Monday, and we're just going to kind of do that every now and then when there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, awesome. So please go check him out too. Appreciate you being here every single week, Centurion, as well. Go check out the podcast as well, TXR. Shout out to the fellas over there. And last but not least, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, man. Let everybody know where they can find you, brother.
Awesome show, guys. Thank you guys for having me on here, and great having Luke on here as a guest again. Always great having you and your views on things. Just talking gaming. It's always awesome having you here.
Thanks, man.
Also, awesome for all the members in the chat. Thank you guys for coming out, and you guys were always giving us feedback in there. And I know a lot of times, me not being the biggest Halo guy, But being Forza, I'm definitely looking for anybody out there that wants to join the Forza Underground group I have. We're going to do a car show here. Hopefully they'll have the servers fixed for the for convoys and things like that. But for anybody out there that wants to catch my ramblings on Forza or anything else gaming related, you can find me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere, PSN at fuzzy_Belvedere, or fuzzy space Belvedere on Xbox Live. You can also catch me on Tidbits on Mondays with Mav and on Fun Speculation Podcast at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturdays with Mav and Key. And always catch me here at the Shop Podcast with my family, PTK, Pong, and Centurion. You guys are always awesome to talk with. Thank you guys for coming out.
Appreciate you as well, Fuzz. Thank you every week bringing the smooth takes. Appreciate you, brother. But once again, PTK Blam across the board. Host with the most here. Hit me up on Xbox Live, PTK Blam across the board as well, on Twitter as well. Follow me on Twitter. That's where you'll be able to catch up with the Shop Podcast and everything going on, and guests and hosts, things like that, and everything we got going on here. But we appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your night. Play some video games. Have some fun. Be safe out there. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Later.